All right. I'm going to talk to you about my experience going to a very small hardware store in Miami with old men inside. I was their only customer, and I liked the hardware store. It was almost like, oh, cozy. And I looked everywhere as far as because I enjoyed looking at the screws and thinking, oh, what's this for? What's that for? And things like that. So finally, I asked them. I didn't spend too much time there. I spent maybe 2 minutes looking, and then I spoke to the old man and I said, "Do you have something that polishes swords and something that sharpens swords?" I was more interested in polishing because I used to see my grandpa polish his buckle. And his response was, "Why do you want to polish a sword?" And then I told him, "Oh, I practice Tai Chi Chuan, and we have a sword. I just bought a sword, and I want to polish it." And his attitude was judgmental. It was like, "Why do you want to polish a sword? Why do you want to have a sword?" I mean, I'm adding now the word, "Why do you want to have a sword?" and things like that. And so I just nodded my head, and then I walked out the door. Some people don't understand what you are doing in your life. So the quickest way is just to go in, ask your question, and get out. Maybe they understand you, maybe they don't. Keep moving. Because people are strange. People are strange. Why do I want to learn to use a sword, for instance? Now, the one I wanted to learn, but I took the training from the straight edge. Sharp on both sides and long and pokey. I forgot the name of the sword that I bought. Um, it wasn't perfect because it had rough spots. It was almost like missing. It was missing. The metal was not perfectly smooth on the handle part that protects the handle. It was rough. And what I think it was missing was, I'll use the word sanding. Sanding with a machine or something. That's what I think it was missing. However, I wanted to learn the saber. But my teacher, I didn't last long enough to learn the saber, and he began with the straight edge. Straight, double-sided edge. And it was moving around a lot and things like that. But I really wanted to learn the saber because the saber it was slightly curved, and it was most similar to a machete, which is what people in Honduras walk around with. When I was 7 years old, I used to see them walk around with a machete in wherever it goes inside the thing, which was made out of leather. If they didn't have one, I've seen them wrap it in newspaper. And then my grandpa told me a story about how the chief of police was in his car, this side, with his arm hanging out the window, and then a man with a machete chopped him and kept going. And since there were so many cars, the chief of police, he didn't think about catching the guy. What he thought about instantly was going to the hospital. So the mistake that the chief of police did was having his windows down, but everybody had their windows down. There was no air conditioning back then. Um, well, the action, that was not a mistake because it wasn't invented yet, or it wasn't in the cars yet. But the mistake he did was traveling alone. The chief police should have had 2 officers with him, at least one. I've noticed that this is when I was 31 years old. I went to Honduras and there was the bank, right? It's always shocking when you go to that country because you see at the mall, you see them on bicycles, the security guards, with rifles. When you get to the bank, you see them with machine guns. I think it was machine guns. And they're dressed in green. But then my grandpa explained that the green guy is outside in the green uniform, and that there's another one inside, probably in a green uniform, but that there's a third one that doesn't have a uniform. But if you go there every day, I guess you number one, you'll stand out if you go there every day, but you'll be able to pick him out if you are into that type of business. And so, what did I see? Oh yes, there was a pickup with the 3 soldiers, the driver, and maybe there were another one in the front seat and then the one in the back. And they're driving around, but they're like the police, but they're only driving around the banks, around 2, 3, 4 blocks, going around in a circle on a Friday. And then I was thinking, they're only protecting the bank. So that's what's different. It's different than in the United States. Alright, so I'm going to tell you a story. When I was about 5 or 6, my grandpa was driving his Jeep and he pulled over when he saw a soldier with a young man, a young boy that was maybe 9 years old, crying and crying and crying. And the soldier had grabbed the boy like this and he was pulling him up, but the boy had sat down on the floor. He had knelt down and everything, and he was like, no, he was like this, and the soldier kept pulling his arm up, and my grandpa stopped him and said, what did he do? ¿Qué hizo? And the soldier said that the boy he got on a bus without paying, and he was from actually another city. And then the boy said, let me go, and he pulled. And the soldier had a long, I don't know if it was a machine gun or a rifle, but he pulled up the boy and poked him. I'll use this. Right, so imagine the hand like that, and then, oh, I can't see it because of my hand. Boom! With the rifle, hit him right there. And instantly the boy collapsed. And instantly my grandpa drove off. And instantly I knew as a 5 or 6 year old that whatever age, 9, 10, 11 year old boy was dead. You don't start, you're not yelling, crying, leave me alone. You don't start crying. And then instantly fall asleep. What I believe happened was that his rib poked him somewhere, into his heart. I forgot which hand he had up, right? It was his left hand. It could have been his right, I don't remember. But the point is, that boy died. When I was even younger, I remember a man yelling and yelling. My grandfather's machete man, the one that cuts the grass, and the new one. And he was yelling and yelling and yelling. No, but not yelling, he was crying. He was like, walking with his arms all limp and broken. Just not broken, they were just hanging. And so I asked my grandma, what's wrong? And grandma told me that his baby boy had died, or his baby girl had died. And that was the smallest coffin I had ever seen. I can't make it bigger because then you won't see it in the camera. That was when I was 5. Then when I was 6, I moved into the city with my mother for a moment. Maybe I was 4, 5, 6. I have no clue because they're all the same. But I was living in Tela, and the boy that was 9, this one was my neighbor, showed me his foot, and he had a black spot right here. I asked him, what is that? And he said, that's a nail. I stepped on a nail. Now, even at that age, I was thinking, shouldn't you take it out? That's what I was thinking. And that was a fat nail. It was not a, I mean, I could only see the head. The head was big. And then I asked about him, and then my mother told me that he was dead a few days later. So then at 16, I go back to Honduras, and of course there's a funeral going on, a procession. And my half-brothers, they tell me how the whole town participates in these things. And it had been a young man that died. And it's an interesting procession when there is no electricity, all right? Everybody's walking, it's sweaty, it's mosquitoes, and people were they singing something? I don't remember. It's a whole weird experience. And you're in total darkness except for the candles that people take. And then he mentioned that they were going to have something happening in the house with the body. The whole night they're going to do something. Yeah, it's just weird. Life is weird. Another video coming up.